Meaning of the word alcoholic has changed dramatically. I mean, so far, or majority people been thinking about alcoholic as someone who's totally lost everything. Maybe lost the house, maybe lost the family, maybe lost the kind of a decent, living. Maybe someone like a wino standing by the shop, trying to get some change to just like, becoming like this entrepreneur, someone who's tried to make this business running, like the person who tried to, do the startup for himself. As in that perspective, my startup would be just to get enough money to buy myself, the cheapest kind of a booze, wine, or maybe just the one lager, just to survive for the day, so I had something to drink. But the way how alcohol is being, evolving actually in our lives these days, it's basically everywhere, everywhere. You go to sport events. That's the one which is very funny. You go into some sports happenings, sports events, and so sports supposed to be kind of a recreation thing, which is supposed to be kind of very close to healthy lifestyle. The beer is being sold there, or any other type of DM alcohol. So you see, any gatherings, any places we go in, massive places, they are giving that alcohol, maybe from perspective like, okay, so you're just having a great time, you'll have a one or two or few, but we know how that changes. That changes drastically, and we'll see that the alcohol becomes like the second skin in our lives. So it's more like a milk, or everyday use tea or something like that. So I would definitely say the alcoholic right now completely changes. It's down to meaning wise, like someone who starts getting being introduced, let's say, to alcohol, and it gets down to the point that he cannot or she cannot actually live without it anymore. And that's how the alcoholism will kind of evolve in our life, because it's going to be the part of our life, and we kind of later, even when we try to get out from it, we go into the point we kind of defenseless. We can't do it. It's impossible to get it out, and anything around us does not even help us in our daily lives. It became a huge part of socializing, huge, on a massive scale right now. It's actually unbelievable. It's everywhere, everywhere, wherever you go. Even you've been even served at work, any gifts from work, Christmas hampers, stuff like that. It's just unbelievable. Used to, let's say, in some places they did not give any alcohol because they didn't want it to, let's say, being a part of it to create a situation that the people were going to be encouraged to use it. Maybe you get yourself some kind of vouchers at work, something, the places when you actually having a chance to decide how you want to spend your money. But now it's part of it. It's part of it, and it's sad because this creates the point where people kind of start being pre-programmed with thinking that it is okay and is a normal for you to have alcohol, to use alcohol, or even think about the alcohol like a necessity. This is absolutely crazy. And being programmed, pre-programmed is totally madness. I mean, you're going around let's say, I do understand advertising. It's fine, I get it. It's just something is supposed to help the industry, it's supposed to, keep driven economy going. But the thing is, you're going through the town, adverts all over the places. Alcohol this, alcohol that, right? So you're like, let's say on a bus stop, and next to you is a big, huge, kind of a plastered advert about drinking alcohol. So this is like kind of one of them exposure triggers. You go into the shop, for instance, not to have the chance to have the alcohol or being able to buy alcohol. I mean, it came to so ridiculous point right now that the you go in, let's say, around the shop, and you are in the kind of a milk or yogurt or whatever aisle, when you have a normal food, that's what you need for a daily living, and then you're gonna have like a pallet or maybe a stack of some cans of lager being there just to, get you like, remember, don't forget to visit our aisle with the liquor we have, the alcohol, the lager, the vodka, the whatever's promotional wise. It's absolutely crazy. I mean, you're just being like, the second thing is as well, the younger generations are being hit by that stuff because they actually start living in a kind of a natural way of thinking that this is normal, right? Drinking is normal, having alcohol is normal. I mean, just like, every now and then when you go for the shopping, or maybe you like one of the person who called himself like, because let's say that you don't do the shopping under one roof. So you're picking like, okay, fair enough, we don't shopping in one shop because I can get something. Then I go to the other one because it doesn't matter if it's a better taste, better brand, better, whatever that is. And then you might get yourself later to the point where you go into the first shop, you're gonna buy some alcohol. You go into the second shop, you're gonna get more alcohol, and then you go into the third shop, and you're gonna get the third alcohol, and suddenly you end up with some kind of a shopping when you're totally overloaded with alcohol. You're just making sure that you got enough, so it's not gonna run out. So at least I have some, and then the shops, for instance, they are having the opening hours so long, right? I do understand there's some people which they might, working long hours and they need some late open shops to have a chance to grab something to eat and stuff, which is fair enough. But in majority cases, we see not the people actually doing the shopping as a shopping from a purpose of what I need. It's more like them late customers, which they actually doing nothing else but just going for the alcohol because whatever they had, let's say they just finish off already and there's still, the night is young, as they say, so there's still a chance to get somewhere to get something which is doing nothing else but deeply is pushing you further and further to that addiction, because addiction is always a start to kicking from the moment when you regularly start getting something, so it becomes like a natural thing, and then your exposure and your limitations are going off the roof because you start drinking more and more and more. And let's say you have, on the beginning, you might have something like you're gonna do maybe once in a week, maybe you're gonna do once in a fortnight, once in 2 weeks, once in a month, but eventually we know how does it work. It means, like, technically speaking, you're gonna shrink the distance between drinking. So that means the gaps will be smaller and smaller and smaller, and suddenly you might end up in a situation that you're actually using alcohol every day, or you are the person who's using at least 4 to 5 times a week. Everything is just because the exposure, and exposure. The manufacturers of alcohol, they very clever. I mean, it's like, we kind of look from the point of regulating the law, right? Yes, I understand the economy, and that's important, spending money driven economy. So someone makes the money, people have any jobs and so on and so on, but they can have different jobs, for instance, too, not just only or making the alcohol itself. But the thing is, that is a vast and very fast selling stuff, and taxes from that are going faster than from the cars, for instance, or from purchasing the houses or any other bits and bobs, because that is kind of like a daily, the numbers, if you look, probably they are in the millions, how much stuff is being sold daily. And the legislation is funny because all you have to do is put on the label something that says drink responsibly. What that means? Well, that means that responsibility is being pushed on you, right? We said that the stuff is, over 18 or over 21. We said that what can happen to you, or maybe we can even put some limits or units. Now, this one is tricky because even if you're going to put how many units you're supposed to drink, it's going to be technically speaking safe for you, but we do know there is no such thing like safe amount of alcohol, because it does kind of a damage to your body, your psychic, your anything which is involved in your body within the longer time of using it. But it's just because it doesn't create, in majority cases, constant problems, as in perspective that I'm drinking now and suddenly something happens to me. Then taking in consideration that we do know that our body recovers, then Just like, so, if I'll be off a little bit, I will feel better, I will be better, so that I can go back and continue to it. I mean, this is absolutely madness. This is like killing people and giving them chance to kill themselves just because we put something on a label. And the same is, think about that. If I say that this is harmful for you, but I'm telling you as well that, it's recommended unit for you is so much as so much, you will have this as a kind of a okay to do it, right? It's going to be okay to do it as long as I'm staying within the limit. But we know how does it happen. If I'm going to drink something later on, all the senses, I don't think straight. The more you have in it, the less you're thinking right. So you're not right in the head, and any other stuff kicks in, and you're going for more. So that is very, very clever way of psychology and shifting responsibility on the person actually who purchased the stuff. You purchased, we put the label on it, we told you what's going to happen, no one having second thoughts, not many people read the label, they don't give a really damn about the label, all they want to do, just drink. All the problem as well is the times we live in, the stress which is put it on the people. Look at this, you go to work, you walk, you work a lot of hours. You put a lot of stress on you. You got stress at work. You coming home, you got stress there. You got kids. Maybe you got growing up kids. Maybe you got teenagers around you. Maybe you've got some kind of things you have to push from left to the right, from right to the left. Everything is being like tight on time in your house, or any living home situation. So we try to find the ways how to release ourselves from stress. And the number one always releaser was the alcohol, because that was happening, let's say, the generation before us, and generation before us, and before us, and before us. I mean, as long as the alcohol is going along with human beings from whatever the time, back in the past, then that's how we learn, that's how we doing stuff. And unfortunately that has very, very bad consequences, because now these days we are actually consuming more alcohol than we've been consuming before. Now another thing is as well, I'm not saying in favor that the use to alcohol was actually done it like in some kind of a so-called natural processes, when these days right now, if you have a place which is able to create like 5 million bottles of anything per shift, and it doesn't matter if that shift is actually 12 hours or 10 hours, or even if they're going to do it within let's say a day. So within 24 hours they are able to make like 5 million bottles, right? So imagine what kind of a stuff is going to it if the process is so much sped up. It's just there's a speedy on production, just to put as much more, because there's many people using it, so we have to always provide the stuff. And if the shelves are always full, then that means the stuff will be selling better and faster. With the natural alcohol production, whatever we like to call it, let's say used to lager, you could make within using the old processes, you've been probably be able to do it within 14 days. Okay, if they can do it 5 million or million bottles within one day, what's going in it? How the process is speed up, what kind of chemicals are going to it, and how them chemicals are actually working in our body. I'm not putting in a favor that the alcohol done natural way is better than the one which is done in perspective of very process way doing it, but still, it still creates the damage. But what kind of a stuff is actually putting into it to make it happen? So instead of being 14 days, it becomes 8 hours or 10 hours or 5 minutes, whatever they put it into it, and is already ready to go on the shelf. So you might ask yourself that kind of a question: do I actually know what I'm drinking? Well, I know that they're gonna put ingredients on the bottle, but still, the process is totally different. Everything looks completely different. And then this is like very, very, very huge question about why the people are getting so quickly in such a bad state of health, because we know that the alcohol is nothing else but just basically the ethanol, which is not good for us at all. And as I said before, our times right now we live in, they don't help us, because they're going from the point where, let's say, you're being stressed because of your work, because of your life. Everything's like you waking up in the morning very, very early, then you stay up to very late night because you try to have a time for yourself, you try to have a time for family. If you have one, you have to try, give yourself the time for your work wise, and then you try to compensate somewhere. Now, let's say 2019 show the other way of doing it. When people been sitting at homes, because we know why, so we've been like unable to work for a certain time. It was, again, that shows you, if you too overstressed, you will go for some kind of a relief actions. But if you kicking up with a boredom, that's another one. So a lot of people between 2019, when the happening thing around the world start kicking in, and then we had, places when people did not go to work. Then if you don't go to work, but let's say you're gonna be paid, it doesn't matter how much you're being paid, to be fair. If I got nothing to do, I mean, well, hey, if I don't go to work tomorrow, nothing stops me from having some, right? And then that was the time as well when plenty people jump on a wagon of addiction, specifically alcohol addiction, because shop's been open as normal. You can always go to it. I mean, I don't have to work, so I could have some. And instead of having on the weekends this time, everything create like, during a week right now. So that shows you as well how we are being exposed to everything, how difficult it is. And later on, when we get in hooked on it, where we're gonna create in our life in a kind of alcoholic life, because that is nothing else but alcoholic life. I mean, if you cannot stop doing something, that means you have a problem with it. And this is one of the substances, for instance, the alcohol itself. That will be something which will be developed today, and as a new product, we'll be creating them, antisocial behaviors, them accidents when people are driving cars, and for instance, damaging your health. And from that perspective, that will be probably and definitely will be classified as a kind of a drug, and it will be coming on illegal list. But because even if we know and we are aware how much damage that makes to us, I think the biggest disadvantage is just because that is not, giving you the damage so quickly, but it's just like happening through the years. Plus, on top of that, we have that everyone is different, so everybody's body reacting different way. If you drink that much, you're not gonna be, let's say, drunk, but the other person drinks exactly the same amount or the volume of alcohol, and they totally drunk. So this is like very huge range and ratio of things which happen around it, and definitely that becomes like the biggest diseases which we have around the world. And something definitely has to be changed. Something definitely has to be changed, because we're gonna have more and more failure. Our system is going down. I mean, any governments, they kind of pretend that they're doing something, but they don't doing something. And the limitations, it's okay. Even if they're gonna put like, same as when they decide to put the prices up. So what is you gonna do more expensive stuff? If I'm addicted, I'm gonna buy it anyway. It doesn't matter how big it is. So this is like creating poverty faster, because in a normalized situation, the person, when they gets addicted, is gonna gradually go in towards drinking more. But if I don't have enough money, so I'm gonna be just going down on a price, on a value of it. But just let's have a chance that I will had kicked in the head. If you put the prices up, what you're gonna do is nothing else but you'll create a faster poverty, because the people, first, the people probably is gonna be doing stuff like, okay, fair enough, I know what I need to have to, go through the day on a basic basis. But then later on, if I need more and more and more, I will be start choosing between should I eat or should I my kids will eat or I will be drinking. And we definitely know that in the perspectives when we see someone going down totally, these people they don't care. At the end of the day, they start just caring about themselves to have something to drink. You know, there might be in a case they're not even aware of what they're doing because later on, when the stage of addiction kicks up very much, very hard, you're not thinking straight. That's the biggest problem. That people are not gonna be thinking straight, and that creates and causes a lot of problems later. So I would definitely look from perspective that the name and the meaning in a dictionary for alcoholism should change. It's not actually what it was before. Times are changing, situations are changing, our lives are changing, realities are changing, evolving in a specific. So definitely that's supposed to evolve itself as well. I mean, if you're watching this right now, so probably you have some concerns, or maybe you are in a position that you don't know what to do. And to be fair, typical actions or whatever we've been provided with as a help wise is not enough. There's definitely not enough, and there's plenty of people who are struggling and they don't know where to find help in perspective, at least to be guided right. And even if you decide that you will go for some therapies, rehabs, and places like that, maybe there's nothing in your area. Maybe you're not gonna be able, the person who's able to drive the car somewhere, whatever the distance, you're gonna have it to the closest place when you can be provided, or maybe even time wise. I mean that's supposed to be definitely pushed by a kind of a government side to create the situation that we will have more places. We have more places that we can turn to in that perspective, and we're being more aware. The same is with school and places like that. I mean, that should be provided on a basic level understanding, especially with the young ones, because that is the only way how we can change, the next generations coming up. Or we going to continue what we're doing right now and hoping for, everyone a kind of a brainish attempt to do it, that they're gonna choose something which is common, but the thing is, common thinking is not common practice very often, specifically because we as humans, we are loaded with them emotions, and then our things whatever we do around in our lives and react different way. So not always we understand everything what we're doing, and we not always understand what's the consequences. But that's gonna be down to the older generations and places which they've been involved in something, so the message can be properly spread. And at least if you will have the chance to choose because you're gonna be aware of something, rather than going into the blind side, not knowing anything, and hopefully maybe by some kind of a magical situation happenings, or maybe sometimes about the drama which will be too late, then you will change something because you realize this is not the greatest way or place to be. I hope that video was beneficial for you, and I'll try to keep on doing my mission, provide the information, spreading the informations. If I can at least find one person who can find something grateful for changing their life and become sober, I'm very happy about that. And remember, you can be yourself the king or a queen of sobriety. If somebody, someone else done it, that you can do it, I believe in you. If you're interested with anything else and more, you know what to do. Just to click the button in the right place. And I shall see you later.